Chapter 1. Fabian and I had been living together for 2 years. That day, I was worried about being price gouged by algorithm-based shopping platforms, so I planned to use his phone to compare prices on a certain website. But just as I reached for it, he snatched his phone away in a flash. Even with the distance between us, I could feel his panic. I pretended not to notice anything unusual and reached for the remote next to his phone instead. Instinctively, he stood up from the couch. I froze, and so did he, staring at my hand holding the remote. When he noticed me looking at him, he reached over to rub my head, his tone unnaturally stiff. "Babe, you've worked so hard lately. Once I get through this busy period, let's go get our marriage license. We've been together for 5 years." I'd brought up the topic of registering our marriage at least 10 times recently. Every time, he brushed it off, saying he was too busy with switching jobs. Eventually, he started coming home less and less. I could count his visits on one hand. I once told him how I felt about it, and all he did was hold me and try to soothe me. "Babe, I'm working hard for our future. Just give me a little more time, okay?" Now, he even brought that line back just to shut me up. Clearly, he was feeling guilty to the core. After dinner, he took his phone into the bathroom. I lay on the bed, replaying our journey from the moment we met to where we were now. He's 3 years younger than me. We met at my graduation party. Both of us were hosts that night. Later, he'd follow me around every day, calling me big sis like a puppy. Everything between us happened naturally. The bed sank slightly beside me, and an arm wrapped around my waist. Fabian had just showered and carried that fresh, clean scent. He said, "Tomorrow's your birthday. I was picking out a gift just now. I wanted to surprise you. That's why I didn't want you to see my phone." So, his bathroom break was actually a brainstorming session for excuses. But this one felt far too forced. I played along and asked, "Will you be with me tomorrow?" He pulled me into his arms. "I've already asked the company for the day off." I didn't say anything. A while later, his phone lit up again. He glanced at it and then put it back like nothing had happened. I had a lot on my mind and didn't fall asleep until dawn. Strangely, Fabian, who usually loved to sleep in, was already up by 7. "Babe, sleep in a bit. I'm heading out to get something." He got dressed quickly, like he was in a hurry. I asked, "Where are you going?" He said, "Zach's girlfriend is moving and needed some stuff. I'm just dropping things off." I knew Zach. We had dinner together a few times because of Fabian, and I got along well with his girlfriend, Lisa. After he left, I called Lisa. It took her a while to pick up, and her voice was hoarse, clearly woken from sleep. In the 5th year of our relationship, Fabian cheated on me. There was no need for further proof. Chapter 2. It wasn't until a little after 11 in the morning that Fabian finally called me. "Sorry, babe, I probably won't make it back during the day. There are still some things that need to be moved. But I promise I'll come home tonight to have dinner with you, okay?" I knew I didn't really have a choice. I slept most of the day. When I opened my eyes, the sky outside was painted with vibrant sunset colors. A wave of loneliness washed over me as I sat on the bed, wrapped in the blanket, staring into nothing. That's when Fabian came home, holding a small bag in his hand. "Happy birthday, babe. Sorry I'm so late today." As he approached, I caught a faint, unfamiliar scent on him, someone else's perfume. Perhaps. He handed me the bag. "I know you love perfume. I picked this out for your birthday. Hope you like it." I looked into the flimsy little bag. Inside was a single bottle of perfume, men's cologne, and used. I didn't expose his lie. After all, 5 years together leaves you clinging to whatever hope is left. Until I had undeniable proof, I forced myself to act normal. I hugged him and smiled. "Thank you. I love it." We went out for dinner, and he was attentive the whole way. I closed my eyes in front of the cake and made a wish. I wished everything was just a misunderstanding. I wished we could last forever. Suddenly, I heard a soft chuckle across from me. I thought I imagined it, so I cracked an eye open and saw him smiling down at his phone like a teenager in love. I hadn't seen that kind of genuine, carefree smile on his face in a long time. It stunned me. He happened to glance up and caught me looking. The smile froze on his lips. I asked, "What are you looking at?" His expression was awkward. "Just a funny meme." I leaned closer. "Let me see." He quickly swiped his phone, and by the time I caught a glimpse, all that was on the screen was a random news article. He looked guilty and mumbled. My finger slipped. It refreshed. I lost the meme. My heart sank. So while I stood before a birthday cake making a wish for us to be together forever, what was he really thinking? When we left the restaurant, I didn't look too happy. Fabian noticed and, trying to cheer me up, held my hand and pouted a little. Wasn't this place to your taste? How about we go get your favorite grilled fish instead? He acted like nothing had happened, but I couldn't get his earlier smile out of my head. I needed to know, what exactly was he smiling at? He was physically beside me, but where was his heart? I wanted to rip off that fake mask of his, but I didn't dare. Not yet. I still wanted to hold on to this relationship, even though it was already falling apart at the seams. He took me to eat my favorite grilled fish, but for some reason, that rich aroma I usually loved just made me nauseous tonight. I ran to the bathroom and threw up like my insides were turning inside out. Maybe I looked awful at dinner, because not long after, I heard Fabian's voice outside, anxious, almost panicked. Babe, are you okay? I was so drained from vomiting I ended up sitting limp on the floor. Fabian waited outside with no answer and eventually burst in. He carried me all the way to the hospital. After a whirlwind of tests, the doctor finally said, "There's nothing wrong, you're just pregnant." I snapped out of my daze instantly and instinctively turned to look at Fabian, only to see him frozen in place. Too stunned to even meet my eyes. Chapter 3. Fabian's family found out I was pregnant, and his parents invited me over to their place. Fabian had never said it outright, but I knew they didn't approve of me because of my age. Still, even if they didn't accept me, they sure had no problem accepting the financial support I'd given Fabian over the years. Like it was only natural, as if Fabian were my child. I bought a bunch of gifts and went to their home with Fabian. We'd been together for 5 years. This was only the second time I'd ever set foot in his house. His mother was just as sharp-tongued as I remembered. When she saw me, she gave me a lukewarm greeting. "Eva, you're here? Sit down. Your uncle and I already had lunch. We didn't know you two were coming, so there's nothing prepared for you. I'll go heat up some leftovers." I smiled politely. "It's okay, Auntie. I'm not hungry." She ignored me. I was about to greet his father when I heard her barking out orders like a general. "Old Han, come help me for a bit. Fabian, go tidy up your room. Why are you just standing there?" And just like that, I was left alone in the living room. It felt awkward to sit, and it felt awkward to stand, so I figured I'd help out in the kitchen. But before I even reached the door, I overheard her whispering to her husband, "Girls these days have no self-respect. Living with a man before marriage, no wonder people look down on her." Shame washed over me. My face flushed hot, but I had to admit, she wasn't wrong, at least in my case. I really had sold myself short. I pretended not to hear and went back to the living room like nothing happened. Soon after, she brought out a tray of leftovers and slammed the plates onto the table with loud clattering. "Come eat." She said it like she was calling a dog. "No need. Auntie, I'm really not hungry." She didn't insist. Instead, she cut straight to the point. "Fabian told me you're pregnant? Are you two thinking about getting married now?" Fabian still hadn't come out of his room. I nervously clenched the hem of my shirt. "We're planning to. Yes, we don't object to the marriage," she said bluntly. "Given your age and all, but we just bought a place downtown and still have a mortgage to pay. We can't afford a dowry. Maybe talk to your family and see how to handle that." Truthfully, I'd never planned on asking for a dowry, but I knew I couldn't say that out loud. She kept going, rapid fire like a machine gun. "Fabian's had it easy his whole life. Once you two are married, just focus on taking care of him at home. That job of yours with its little part-time pay doesn't mean much anyway. I don't have any big demands. Just one, Fabian's career is on the rise, and his dad's a public servant, so don't go making a fuss with a big wedding. Just a small family meal is fine." After that, I couldn't really hear what else she was saying. I just suddenly realized I couldn't have this child. I couldn't go through with this marriage, and I couldn't keep lying to myself about this relationship. All I wanted was to get out of that house as fast as possible. Just as I was reaching my breaking point, Fabian finally came out of the room. He didn't say a word, just grabbed my hand. "Mom, Eva and I are leaving. We'll visit another time. It wasn't until we'd exited the complex that I finally felt like I could breathe again. Fabian pulled me into his arms, a hint of guilt in his voice. I'm sorry, babe. You didn't deserve that. Clinging to one last shred of hope, I asked him, what did you think about everything your mom just said? He avoided my eyes, staring awkwardly at the ground. My family really did just buy a place. Things are tight right now. I started to pull away from him, but he quickly added, but don't worry, I'll work hard. I'll make more money. I majored in design and now work at a fashion company, mainly responsible for haute couture. Fabian's in the same field, from his first job out of school to being able to lead his own projects now. I paved every step of the way for him. Every highlight of his career is tied to me. I earn more than he does, but most of my paycheck is eaten up by rent, utilities, social obligations, my car loan, and everyday expenses. I even help cover his costs. In the end, there's barely anything left for myself. So I had to wonder, with what? Exactly. Was he going to work hard? Chapter 4. What happened during the day didn't seem to affect Fabian in the slightest. That night, he slept soundly next to me while I stared blankly at the ceiling, lost in a whirlwind of thoughts. Suddenly, I heard his phone buzz softly. I carefully picked it up and saw a WeChat notification pop up. The message read, "Are you asleep? I can't fall asleep. I don't get it. You promised me you wouldn't take her to see your parents. Why did you lie to me?" A crying emoji followed. The phone looked exactly like the one he usually used, but the WeChat avatar was different. I checked my own phone to confirm. It was clear Fabian had mixed up his two phones. There were only a handful of contacts on this alternate WeChat. I opened each conversation one by one and confirmed their identities. The one with the matching couple profile pic? That was the girl he was cheating with. The rest were her friends, like ripping off a bandage. I clicked into her Moments feed. Her profile banner was a photo of them together. Every post was a public display of their relationship, filled with affection and sweetness. The most recent one read, "Day 721 of being in love." The irony? I knew this girl. Her name was Alicia. She was Fabian's classmate. She'd been chasing after him since freshman year. Back then, whenever I brought her up, Fabian's face would twist in annoyance. "Babe, can you not mention her? She makes me nauseous." But in this WeChat, he didn't look the least bit disgusted. I opened their chat history. I saw good mornings and good nights, endless little updates from their lives. While I spent entire days waiting for replies to my messages, Fabian was sending Alicia pictures of his lunch, complaining, "The food's awful today, not even a fraction as good as your cooking." I saw messages where Alicia brought him home-cooked meals at work. He'd gush afterward, "Wifey, you're amazing. My coworkers are obsessed with your cooking. They're begging for more of your braised meatballs." Fabian never once called me wifey. He used to call me sis. Later, it turned into babe, but never that. I saw pictures he took of Alicia passed out asleep at his office, clearly exhausted from keeping him company late into the night. I imagined his thoughts while taking that picture. Under the soft light, Alicia's face looked serene. He must have felt just as peaceful inside. The love between them wasn't just strong, it crashed right through the screen and hit me like a wave. I kept scrolling. Alicia had whined in a message, "Your bed is so hard. It made me sore. And those curtains? Ugh. So tacky. Can you please change them before next time?" The date on that message? It was the month I'd been away on a work trip. That month, in the apartment I had personally decorated, they'd been living together, using my things, sleeping in my bed, and finding flaws in everything I'd created. The cruelest part? Fabian actually changed the curtains. When I asked him why, he'd vaguely said, "This color's brighter, don't you think, babe?" While I was loving him with all my heart, he was loving someone else with twice that intensity. We weren't even legally married, just in a relationship, so I had no legal grounds. No claim. I couldn't do anything with all this evidence. I just quietly put his phone back in its place. It all felt like a dream. I lay still. Then Fabian suddenly stirred awake. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his first instinct, reaching for his phone. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. He got out of bed as silently as he could. A long while later, he crept back in. When I peeked again, his phone had already been swapped out for his usual one. And somehow, I found it so absurdly funny. I wasn't afraid of his family's judgment or their condescension, but his love for another woman? That was what ultimately drove me out of this relationship. Chapter 5. I didn't keep the baby, and I didn't tell anyone I'd gone to the hospital. I came home and crashed, sleeping through the whole day. When I woke up in the evening, Fabian still wasn't back. I called him, but he didn't pick up. About an hour later, he returned the call. "What's up, babe?" I asked. "Are you working late again today?" His voice was full of excitement. "I resigned today. I'm finally moving over to Panda Corporation. Babe, I can finally give you a better life. As soon as I finish the handover stuff, I'll come home and be with you." He was obviously drunk, his words slurred and uneven. And suddenly, I just felt tired for him. Living in a web of lies like that, didn't he ever feel hollow inside? I waited until midnight before I finally heard a knock on the door. I looked through the peephole. There stood Alicia, helping a completely wasted Fabian stay on his feet. Zach stood beside them, looking nervous and uncomfortable. "Eva, we went out to celebrate tonight." Fabian overdid it. "I'm really sorry." He didn't even dare call me sis in front of Alicia. Alicia was the kind of girl who left a good impression. When she smiled, a soft dimple appeared on her left cheek. She greeted me brightly. "You must be Fabian's girlfriend, right?" "Hi, I'm his friend, Alicia." I gripped the doorknob tightly, forcing myself to remain composed. Hi, thank you for helping him. Please, come in and sit for a bit." Zach started to decline. "Oh, no, we really shouldn't." But Alicia had already stepped inside with Fabian, like she was walking into her own home. Zach had no choice but to follow her in. "I'll boil some water. Make yourselves comfortable." Zach looked visibly uneasy. "Fabian threw up earlier. I'll take him to change his clothes." Alicia, however, followed me straight into the kitchen. She leaned against the doorframe and started chatting. "Big sis, we actually went to the same university. I'm not sure if you remember me. I was 3 years below you." I looked at her calmly. "Can't say I do." A faint smirk tugged at her lips. "That's surprising. Fabian and I were pretty close back then. We were always together at school." I paused for a moment, then replied, "Still doesn't ring a bell. But since we're talking, there's something I've been meaning to confirm with someone." There was a time Fabian kept complaining he was being stalked and harassed. I never believed him. Just a couple days ago, he brought it up again. "So tell me, was it true? Was there really someone so shameless that they were chasing after a guy like that?" I thought he was just lying to me. Alicia went silent. After a few seconds, she smiled again and said sweetly, "Big sis, let's add each other on WeChat." "Yeah, we're both alumni, should stay in touch." This girl, she was something else. Chapter 6. Alicia had added me to a restricted group on WeChat. Everything I'd once seen on Fabian's phone, her stories, her posts, were now invisible to me. But that didn't stop me from seeing her latest move. The next day, she posted a screenshot of a chat, clearly a flirty conversation between a couple. They were making plans to go out and celebrate something together. Fabian was sitting right beside me, casually scrolling through his phone. I turned to glance at him, pretending to stretch. He was browsing stories, the corners of his lips curled up, eyes filled with warmth. A moment later, I saw it, his like under Alicia's new post. He had never once liked any of my posts. I knew exactly what Alicia was doing. She was baiting me. And I took the bait, willingly. I went to the restaurant they'd agreed on ahead of time. I was ready to give Fabian a surprise. Sure enough, as they sat down and saw me walking out from the restroom, Fabian froze like a deer in headlights. He stumbled up so fast he knocked over the chair. I smiled and walked up to their table. "What a coincidence. You two came here to eat too?" Fabian instinctively grabbed my hand. "Babe," Alicia beamed, slipping her arm through mine like we were old friends. "Yeah. What a small world. Are you here alone? Why don't you join us?" I nodded. "I am alone, but I reserved the table next to yours." I looked Fabian right in the eye. "So, are you going to stay here and eat? Or come with me?" Alicia's face darkened. Her smile faltered. She stared at Fabian intensely. And truth be told, I was nervous too. After a long silence, Fabian finally said to her, I'll go eat over there. You can come join us if you want. I exhaled in relief. As messy as everything had become, at least in that moment, I was grateful to Fabian. Alicia was younger than me by a few years. I watched her force a smile, but her eyes gave her away, glassy and red. Her self-restraint was admirable, even with her expression dark as ink. She didn't cause a scene. Even I, as another woman, couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. The dinner was awkward at best. I don't usually like sour food, but that night, I purposely ordered dishes that leaned heavily acidic. Alicia asked sweetly, "You really like sour flavors, huh? Does that mean you're the jealous type too?" Fabian shot her a look that could have burned through steel. I served her a bowl of soup and smiled. "Not exactly. I've just been craving sour things lately, because I'm pregnant." Everything happened in an instant. The bowl slipped from Alicia's hands. The moment she realized what I'd just said, she snapped. She grabbed Fabian like a madwoman, screaming at the top of her lungs. Every head in the restaurant turned toward us. The manager rushed over and politely escorted the three of us out. The night breeze sobered Alicia up a bit. She sat silently on the steps outside. Fabian clung to my hand, trying to explain. "Babe, it's not what you think. I cut him off. Let's break up." I turned and got into a cab. Fabian moved to chase me, but Alicia grabbed onto his shirt, refusing to let go. I was the one who said it. But even so, the moment those words left my mouth, I felt a dull ache in my chest. Over 1,000 days and nights, all ending here. I didn't want to let go. But sometimes, when you're walking and you step in shit, you don't examine it, you just walk around it. I quickly packed all of my things. Yes, I was bitter, but I had no intention of dragging this out any longer. As I snapped my suitcase shut, Fabian burst in. He was frantic, grabbing at the handle like a madman. "Don't go, please. Don't go. I can explain." The illusion was already shattered. I suddenly found myself afraid to face such a pathetic ending. I shoved him hard. He stumbled back, but then launched forward and dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around my legs, face tilted up to me. "I was wrong. Don't leave me, please. I'm begging you. Let's get married right now, okay? I love you. I really love you. I messed up. Please, forgive me, Fabian." I looked down at him calmly. "I'm tired. You and Alicia, you're a good match, and I deserve better." Fabian snapped. He grabbed me and forced me onto the bed, holding me down, refusing to let me go. After struggling for what felt like forever, my strength gave out. I lay in his arms, defeated, and then I laughed. "Fabian, you know what? I had the baby terminated." I felt his body go rigid. He stared at me, face contorted with shock and devastation, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. Chapter 7. Fabian smashed everything he could in the apartment. Eventually, the downstairs neighbors called the building management, and only then did the chaos finally die down. He knelt in the wreckage, a broken man, still clinging to my leg. "Babe, don't leave me. We can still have another child. It was all my fault. I was an asshole. Please, forgive me. I knew if I didn't handle this carefully, he'd keep dragging it out." So I nodded. A spark of hope lit up in his eyes. "Really? Really?" After that long night of turmoil, he was exhausted. When we went to bed, he clung to me tightly. Every time I moved, even slightly, he'd jolt awake. I gently patted his shoulder to calm him. "Sleep. I'm not going anywhere." As always, he believed me without question. He finally let his guard down. Only when his breathing grew slow and steady did I slip out of bed. I threw out my SIM card. I had nowhere else to go, so I went straight to the office. My coworkers working late looked shocked to see me. "I thought you were on leave." Honestly, I wasn't. The company Fabian always talked about, Panda, had offered me a position first. I turned them down at first, but after hearing Fabian obsess over it again and again, I reconsidered. I reached out, negotiated, and eventually submitted my resignation. My previous team was wrapping up a major project, so leadership told me to wait until after my vacation to make anything official. I had planned to surprise Fabian with the news. That surprise, in the end, never got delivered. I got a new number and booked a hotel to stay in until my new job started. During that time, I only contacted my family and my best friend. When my bestie answered my call, she practically screamed, "You and Fabian fought, right? He's been camping outside my place for over a month. He's basically moved in. Please come get him." We broke up. I admitted, "Please don't give him my new number." But I'd clearly called too late. There was noise on the other end. And the next moment, Fabian's voice came through. "Where are you? I'll come pick you up and take you home." His voice was hoarse, like someone was strangling him. Even now, my heart wasn't completely immune. I hung up as fast as I could. He went into a frenzy, calling nonstop. Eventually, I had to power off my phone. Later that evening, when I turned it back on, a call came through from the Fourth City Hospital. My heart skipped a beat. It was Fabian's mother. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Eva, please, come see Fabian. I'm begging you." Chapter 8. Fabian had jumped from a building. By the time I arrived, he was in the ICU, fighting for his life. His mother grabbed my hand, sobbing uncontrollably. "Eva, this is all my fault. I'm begging you. Please talk to him. Don't let him keep going down this path." I never imagined things would go this far. Just as I bent down to speak, someone shoved me aside. It was Alicia. Her eyes were bloodshot, and without warning, she slapped me across the face. She was hysterical, screaming at me with wild eyes. "You bitch! What are you doing here? Haven't you ruined Fabian enough? I'm pregnant too. I'm carrying his child." She kept screaming at me. Fabian's mother turned on her, cursing just as viciously. It was chaos, vile words flying in every direction. The hospital security had to intervene before the two of them started throwing punches. I'll admit it, I came to the hospital because I hadn't completely let go of Fabian, but Alicia's outburst was the slap of clarity I needed. I saw that image again in my mind. Alicia curled up asleep at his office desk. That photo he took, it had always been a thorn in my heart. Yes, I'd been foolish. But even if Fabian had actually died, I realized he didn't deserve my pity. I left the hospital without looking back. No matter how desperately Fabian's mother screamed after me, I didn't turn around. I changed my number again and requested to start my new job early. That company, Panda, where Fabian had dreamed of becoming an employee, had offered me a director role. That meant no more chasing clients day and night. I was finally walking toward my goal of launching my own fashion label. I moved to a different district to escape the noise, and life slowly started to return to normal. Fabian now felt like a faded memory from my youth, like a dream. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and wonder if any of it had ever really happened. At my new job, I thrived. I was doing well, really well. In just my second month at Panda, my team landed a major client. It was a government-owned enterprise, big headcount, but a fat profit margin. During the morning meeting, the manager praised our team for the deal. Just as I started to smile, he added, "Oh, and we have a new colleague starting today. Eva, since you've got strong experience and a new project to lead, let him join your team for onboarding." As he finished, a man stepped through the door. We locked eyes. Both of us froze. Fabian. He instinctively hid his left hand behind his back. He looked different, calmer, more composed. I nodded at him and was the first to look away. Our team was full of young women, and Fabian was undeniably handsome. After the meeting, they crowded around him, chatting and flirting. Less than an hour later, someone sent me a private message. "Eva, seriously? Another hot guy already married? Is there no springtime for us funny girls?" I'd already guessed. The moment he'd hidden his left hand, I knew. But the funny thing was, it had only been 2 months, and I already felt nothing. Fabian had joined at the perfect time. We'd just landed a major account, and overtime was the new normal. I figured, if he really did marry Alicia, she wouldn't be able to stay silent for long. Sure enough, on the 7th day of non-stop overtime, Alicia showed up at the office with a lunchbox. I sat at my desk, watching her smile sweetly and chat with my team. But when she turned and caught me smiling right back at her, the lunchbox slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor. Chapter 9. Just as I was about to get off work, I got a call from Lisa. I've always been a little socially anxious. Ever since stepping into the working world, I barely made any new friends. Lisa was the rare exception. The moment I answered, she started yelling, "Director Eva, got that promotion and totally forgot your poor little sidekick. Huh? It's been forever and you haven't called me once." She was the only person who could still make me laugh out loud. "All right. Spill it. What are you craving this time? Once this rush is over, I'll treat you properly and apologize on my knees. I heard from Fabian that you're buried in work and might not finish anytime soon. So, to avoid dragging you down, me and Leozi came over to find you. Let's grab dinner tonight." "Yeah." After work, I rushed out to meet them only to realize I'd left my phone behind. I had no choice but to go back up for it. As I turned the corner, I saw someone quickly duck into the printing shop next to the office. She moved fast, but not fast enough. I recognized her. Alicia. I frowned. Fabian had already gone home. What was she sneaking around for? The restaurant wasn't far, so I chose to walk. Sure enough, she followed from a distance, thinking she was being clever. When I arrived, Fabian was already there, and now I understood Alicia's motive. Fabian had been lounging back in his chair chatting with Zach, completely relaxed, until he saw me. His whole body went stiff. Zach looked equally uneasy since Alicia's last visit to my place. He'd been avoiding me too. The atmosphere was awkward. Lisa, as usual, was the only clueless one, grinning like an idiot. Since I was already there, I smiled like nothing was wrong and walked over. The whole dinner was painfully uncomfortable. A few times, Fabian tried to serve me food, but whenever our eyes met, he quickly pulled his hand back. "I feel like something's off tonight," Lisa commented. "By the way, when are you two getting married? I've already picked out my bridesmaid dress." She was clearly still in the dark. Zach must not have told her anything. The already cold atmosphere dropped below freezing. I looked around. Alicia wasn't in sight. I figured I'd give them some time to explain things to Lisa. "I'm gonna use the restroom," I said, getting up. As soon as I stepped in, I heard the door creak again behind me. I turned and saw Alicia, her bloodshot eyes wide open. She looked awful, sick, or recovering from something serious. Her lips were pale, her whole body radiated instability. She stared at me like she wanted to tear me apart with her bare hands. But she held it in. After a long pause, she spoke, voice shaking with fury she was trying hard to suppress. "Can you stay away from Fabian? We're married now." I didn't want to engage, so I didn't respond. She got more agitated. "Do you really think Fabian loves you? Wake up. If he really did, why would he be with me now? Why am I the one who's pregnant?" I gave her a strange look. "If you're so sure he loves you, why are you here talking to me? Shouldn't you be enjoying your happily ever after?" Her fists clenched at her sides. Then she laughed bitterly. "You know what, Eva? You always act so above everyone. Do you know why Fabian chose me? It's because you're too dominant. You were always outshining him. No man wants a woman who constantly makes him feel small. So what if you're capable? So what if you paved the way for his entire career? He never appreciated it. What he needs is someone like me, someone who worships him, who just sits quietly by his side when he's upset. Not someone who's always giving him solutions and pushing him down a path she mapped out." Suddenly, I remembered those moments when Fabian had faced setbacks, and how I'd always offered him plans and strategies. That flicker of discomfort in his eyes, I'd ignored it completely. Maybe she was right, but that still didn't excuse what they'd done. I didn't respond. I called Lisa and left the restaurant. I hadn't even taken off my shoes at home when my phone started lighting up, one notification after another. WeChat showed 8 unread messages, and my email inbox pinged. I opened them and felt a chill spread through my chest. Photos. Fabian had sent photos, pictures of handwritten love letters I'd written to him back when we were dating, usually after a fight. Then, from his account, a message was posted in the company's general group chat. "I am Fabian's legal spouse. Your director has repeatedly used her position to harass my husband. I hope the relevant department will look into this." There were nearly 1,000 people in that group. Not a single reply. Moments later, my department manager called. After I explained what happened, she suggested I report it to the police. But I didn't take her advice. Calling the police would be letting Alicia off too easily. If she was so obsessed with believing there was still something between me and Fabian, then I'd let her keep living in that illusion. Chapter 10. Thanks to that big client, I left a good impression on upper management. My direct supervisor was also a strong supporter of mine, so the whole harassment drama Alicia stirred up blew over without much damage. A few days later, she sent me a WeChat message. What a pity, but hey, at least you got embarrassed in public. Let everyone see how the high-end mighty director evil once simped like a fool. Don't blame me, you were warned. I didn't reply. Soon after, she sent another one. Wanna know how I got your love letters? Fabian's mom gave them to me, one by one. You should have seen her face when she talked about you. Yikes. I could already picture it. What I didn't expect was that, as an elder, she could stoop that low. I had never done anything truly unforgivable to her, but she still went out of her way to humiliate me. I blocked Alicia without another word. I hadn't planned to deal with her, but if she was going to be that aggressive, then maybe it was time to teach her a little lesson. Fabian was working under me now. My rules were the rules. The next day, using the excuse that everyone had been working late lately, I invited the team out for dinner. Not long after, Fabian came to me asking for leave. Eva. Something came up. I probably can't make it tonight. I smiled and replied. You keep isolating yourself like this. How do you plan on building team rapport in the future? He clenched his fists around his shirt hem. After a long pause, he finally nodded. I understand. That night, he joined the dinner. Throughout the evening, I noticed calls lighting up his phone repeatedly. Eventually, he just turned it off. I had a hunch it was Alicia, so I unblocked her again and sent her a WeChat message. You wanna know why he's not answering? And just like clockwork, my phone started ringing too. I took a picture of Fabian at the dinner and sent it to her, then blocked her again. The team dinner ran late. We talked, laughed, enjoyed ourselves. The next morning, Fabian showed up at work covered in visible bruises. As his manager, I naturally had to show concern, and on a personal level, after everything Alicia had pulled, I figured it was time she got a taste of her own medicine. I bought him some ointment and even acted genuinely worried. My personal opinion, I told him, is that this can't go on. I understand where Alicia might be coming from emotionally, but there needs to be a boundary between work and private life. The way she's been acting, it's not helping you. I'm sure you're even more aware of that than I am. He tightened his grip on the tube of ointment, the veins in his hand popping. In that moment, he looked like someone who had finally dropped a heavy mask. I know you hate me, he said quietly, and you have every right to. But Alicia, she's pregnant. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Her family kept pushing. My mom wants a grandchild. That's why I married her. Didn't mean to, just couldn't keep it in his pants. Told me he loved me while knocking Alicia up on the side. I nodded, smiled, acted like I understood. While we talked, I casually slipped a lipstick into the pocket of his coat. Then I said, keep your personal life in check. Panda was your dream job. I hope you make the most of this opportunity. If I guessed right, Alicia would find that lipstick. Sure enough, Fabian took a week off the next day. When he returned, he still had fresh scratch marks on his face. It felt like Alicia and I had swapped places. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd start acting rational, but I had underestimated her emotional limits. Within the first month of Fabian's employment, she was back to her old tricks, dropping him off and picking him up from work, even staying late with him at the office. But she looked nothing like before. Her skin was dull, her cheeks sunken, like someone seriously ill. I realized I had to put an end to this. She was clearly on the edge, and I didn't want to push her over. But Fabian and I worked in the same team, some contact was unavoidable. One afternoon, I was reviewing a client's measurement sheet and needed clarification on part of Fabian's work. After a long moment of hesitation, I called him in. As he got up, I saw Alicia cling tightly to his hand and whisper something. Fabian's expression was tense. He shook her off, visibly annoyed. He came into the room. We barely got through 2 sentences when Alicia barged in without knocking. Director, she snapped. Why do you keep calling Fabian in here to talk? People outside were already watching the drama unfold. I looked at her calmly. Go out. Knock. And come in properly. Fabian tried to de-escalate, reaching for her hand. Come on, let's go out for now. But Alicia snapped. She slapped him across the face and screamed, "Don't think I don't know what's going on, you shameless homewreckers." I hate when personal matters bleed into professional settings. I immediately called security, then went to report everything to my supervisor. He asked, "Do you think Fabian should stay?" Fabian was talented, despite everything that had happened between us. I still recognized his work ethic and skill. I nodded. Fabian is competent. I think he deserves another chance. Alicia was removed from the building and banned from coming near the company again, but she became even more unhinged, showing up daily outside the building, sometimes even following me home. I went to the security booth at my apartment complex and asked for help. They called the police for me. After reviewing the security footage, Alicia was detained for 3 days. That set off a firestorm with Fabian's family. His mother came to my office, pleading again, "Eva, please let her go. She's pregnant." She probably never imagined she'd end up begging me twice. I refused to settle. Fabian's mom clearly wanted to curse me out, but she swallowed it back. Word of Alicia's harassment eventually reached corporate leadership. Meanwhile, our team had landed a major contract within just 3 months. The higher-ups valued my performance. After a few one-on-one meetings, they offered me a promotion, transferring me to the branch office in the neighboring province as department general manager. Naturally, I jumped at the opportunity. As for Alicia and Fabian, I was done being entangled in their mess. Chapter 11. The new company offered great benefits, so I set a small goal for myself: to buy a home, paid in full, in this outrageously expensive city within the next 10 years. For that goal, I worked like mad. So many times, I overheard whispers. She's probably the boss's wife. Why else would she work this hard? I was on the front lines every single day, constantly burning myself out. Eventually, my body gave out before the money even made it into my account. I ended up in the hospital. Ironically, while I was unconscious, I had the best sleep I'd had in over a year. In the middle of that groggy half-sleep, I heard someone talking on the phone nearby. Yeah, it's her. Still the same idiotic way of doing things, like she doesn't care if she lives or dies. This time it was just exhaustion. Her co-workers brought her in. The voice was low, smooth, pleasant, even, but the words were anything but pleasant. I didn't have solid proof, but I knew deep down, he was talking about me. I was so pissed I snapped awake. As I opened my eyes, I heard him say, "All right, gotta go." The idiot's awake. See? I knew he was talking about me. I glared at him in fury, but the moment I saw his face, I choked on my own saliva. He glanced at me. "How are you feeling?" I dropped my gaze in sheer embarrassment. If I had to name the most humiliating chapter of my life, it would definitely involve the man standing in front of me, this wolf in doctor's clothing. He was my high school classmate. I crushed on him for 3 full years. I held it in until graduation, then finally confessed my feelings, only for him to shut me down with one sentence: "My mom doesn't let me date." Furious, I blocked him on everything and swore to never speak to him again for the rest of my life. He never showed up to any class reunions afterward. Strangely, everyone kept asking me if I knew what had happened to him. I never forgot how cleanly he rejected me. So whenever someone asked if we were still in touch, I'd answer, "He's dead." If I had known I'd run into Oberon here, I would have never let myself be wheeled in horizontally. I forced an awkward smile. "Long time no see. So, you really did become a doctor?" Oberon scoffed. "No need to get sentimental. You told everyone I was dead. This is basically self-rescue." I gave a few dry chuckles, trying to save face. As the 4 drip neared its end, he stepped out. I quickly yanked out the needle, grabbed my bag, and slipped out like a fugitive. Just as I reached the stairwell, I spotted him standing on the second-floor landing, letting the noon sunlight wrap around him like a golden aura. He looked at me knowingly. "Running off again?" I froze in place. For a second, it felt like I was 18 again. That summer afternoon flashed before my eyes. I had cornered Oberon at the school wall after he tried to escape early by climbing over it to avoid me. I stood in the sunlight, looking up at the boy perched on top of the wall. "Oberon, running off again?" Now, years later, Oberon asked, "You free for dinner tonight?" "I've got a meeting with HQ this afternoon," I replied. "I'll text you after it's done." "Sounds good. Then at least take me off your block list." He said it so matter-of-factly, not the least bit awkward about being blocked. I gave him an awkward little smile and, right in front of him, unblocked him on WeChat. I just made sure he didn't see the contact name I'd saved him under. I practically bolted down the stairs, terrified of embarrassing myself again. But life, as always, had other plans. Just as I reached the last step, I missed a footing and fell forward in spectacular fashion. Behind me, I heard a very familiar voice growl through clenched teeth. "Idiot, why couldn't you just die from that fall?" And then, he caught me. Chapter 12. The fall had been pretty bad. My knee was wrapped so tightly in bandages by Oberon that I looked like a giant dumpling. I could barely bend it, let alone walk up or downstairs. When we arrived at the office building, Oberon grinned at me. "All right, off you go." I stared at the dozen or so steps in front of me. "Are you even human? Out of basic human decency, shouldn't you at least give me a hand?" His eyes were practically sparkling with anticipation, clearly eager to see me make a fool of myself, but he still put on a serious face. "You won't be able to manage on your own for a while. Gotta adapt. Now get going." Death before dishonor. I grit my teeth and climbed out of the car. From behind me, I could hear him giving instructions like a coach, telling me how to lift my leg onto each step. I was so angry I broke out in a cold sweat. Just as I was about to turn around and curse him out, a pair of hands gently supported my elbow. Startled, I looked up and froze. It was Fabian. His eyes were full of complicated emotion. We hadn't seen each other in 6 months. He looked like he'd aged 10 years, not even 30 yet, and there were strands of gray at his temples. I instinctively tried to pull away, but then I heard my former supervisor behind him say, "Since your leg's injured, let him help you." I smiled awkwardly. Then she asked, "Was that your boyfriend just now?" The hand holding me suddenly tightened. I instinctively turned to look for Oberon, only to catch the taillights of his car as he sped away. During the meeting, my old boss caught me up on things. Apparently, in the past 6 months, Fabian had earned 2 promotions thanks to his performance. He was now a deputy manager. That's why he was at the senior level meeting today. The meeting itself had nothing to do with me, and I quickly zoned out. During the break, I stepped out into the hallway for some air. That's when I heard a voice coming from the emergency stairwell, hoarse and tired. "I told you I'm here for a meeting with my boss. There's no other woman. What more do you want from me? I'm exhausted. Can you please stop?" It was Fabian. His voice was so strained, he could barely get the words out. Alicia was yelling in response. I couldn't hear what she said, but I caught the end. "Let's just get divorced. I really can't do this anymore." When I returned to the meeting room, Fabian's face showed no trace of what had just happened. After the meeting adjourned, I lingered until most people had left. Stepping outside, I found Fabian still waiting for me at the door. "Director said your leg's not doing well. She asked me to take you home." Before I could even refuse, someone else pulled me aside. Oberon had come to pick me up for dinner. He looked straight at Fabian and said, "No need. I'll take her." Fabian's expression immediately darkened. He turned to me. "And, who's this?" Oberon looked down at me, eyes sharp like frozen beams of light. I smiled. "My boyfriend." The color drained from Fabian's face. He forced a smile, nodded, and walked away silently. His eyeballs almost fell out of his head. Oberon muttered, adjusting my gaze. "So this is the guy who cheated on you?" I looked up sharply. "How do you know about that?" "I know everything." He scoffed. "This kind of guy? You're better off without him." Thinking back on everything that had happened, I sighed. Honestly, if I'm being fair, I wasn't entirely blameless either. Oberon suddenly leaned in close, locking eyes with me. A 6-foot-tall, handsome man staring at you that seriously? It's a lot. I could literally see myself reflected in his eyes, flushed cheeks. Completely flustered. What are you looking at? You're nearly 30 and still so soft-headed? He snapped. Someone just acts a little pitiful and you start blaming yourself again? What are you, a Buddhist prayer bead in human form? He grabbed my head and gave it a shake, like trying to knock some sense into me. You shouldn't even bother attending these messy corporate meetings. Actually, I'd already requested leave from my manager earlier. Chapter 13. That night, Fabian sent me a WeChat message. Are you still awake? I didn't reply. I just blocked him. Oberon was right. If something's in the past, stop looking back. Life moved on. I kept chasing my dreams. Except now. Oberon was part of that journey. He showed up every day, constantly mocking my taste in fashion, but every time I felt like giving up, he was the one who pulled me out of the abyss. That night, I worked overtime again and didn't leave the office until 10 p.m. Just as I stepped out of the building, someone suddenly lunged at me from the side. Startled, I looked closer. It was Fabian's mother. The moment she saw me, she dropped to the ground, wailing and slapping her thighs. Her mental state was clearly unstable. Fabian's gone. He's missing. Where are you hiding him? Turns out, Fabian had been missing for over a month. I didn't say anything. Fabian's mother cried so hard she could barely breathe. I stood there, not sure what to do. Then a coat was gently draped over my shoulders. Oberon calmly pried her fingers off my legs and said, "If you harass my girlfriend again, I'll call the police." Fabian's mother fell silent instantly. Oberon looked at me. What were you two talking about? She immediately started shouting again. Oh, so now you have a new boyfriend? Meanwhile, my poor son is missing. Alicia went insane because of you. She's in a psych ward. We lost the baby too. And you're out here getting cozy with another man. Do you even have a conscience? Oberon cut her off, his tone ice cold. Oh, your son's missing. Your grandchild's gone, and this is Eva's fault? Did she make it happen? Fabian's mom opened her mouth but couldn't find the words. After a long pause, all she could come up with was, "It's because of her. She owes me compensation for emotional distress." Oberon chuckled in disbelief. He gave me a gentle nudge. Go wait in the car. I didn't want to leave him to clean up my mess. But before I could protest, he physically pushed me toward the car. He had parked not too far away, and even from there, I could faintly hear the conversation. Oberon said, "So you want compensation? Huh? Let's talk. My girlfriend was emotionally and physically wrecked by your son and daughter-in-law for almost a year. Let's be generous. I'll discount the nutritional damage to 1,000 yen. Your daughter-in-law caused a public disturbance at her workplace, damaging her reputation. That's a violation of her personal rights. Let's call that 500 yen. Now let's discuss how much your son cost her over the years. Don't start with that gifts and support nonsense. He owes her. If you want receipts, we've got receipts. I'll even give you a friendly discount. Call it 100,000 yen for raising your son on your behalf. So, you want to settle or keep going?" He stood with his back to me, tall under the streetlights, unshakable. Fabian's mom eventually walked off, dazed and defeated. When Oberon got back into the car, he didn't say a word, and I didn't ask. 3 months later, I officially launched my own fashion brand. Oberon showed up insisting I take him out for a thank you meal. For helping you reach your dreams, he claimed, while I cooked. The TV in the background suddenly cut to a news bulletin. A body has washed ashore near the river in the neighboring city. The corpse is severely decomposed. Estimated age, around 30. Before the anchor could finish, Oberon changed the channel. A few moments later, he said quietly, "Life's kind of strange, isn't it?" I scoffed, saying nothing. Yes, life is strange. Everyone has their own path to walk. As long as you live with integrity, with peace in your heart, that's enough. I'll keep living well, and I hope those I'll never meet again, or never get to meet, will too.